Hi, everybody. How are we doing today? I hope we're having a great afternoon. So our lesson today is about humans and animals, how we're alike and how we're different. So our standard is to compare and contrast basic needs all living things, including humans, need for survival. So I have a question for you guys. Have you ever had to decide between two different things? Like, for example, these two ice creams, strawberry and chocolate. Which one would you choose? So choosing between these two requires using compare and contrasting skills. Those can help us make decisions. So let's compare and contrast between an apple and an orange. So what do you see that's similar between the apple and the orange? They're both round, they're both fruit, and they both grow on trees. Now, what do you see that's different? So one is red and one is orange. One has bumpier skin and the apple has smoother skin. Now let's take a look at these two. This bike and motorcycle. We see that they both have wheels, which is similar. They both have handles. Now, what do you see that's different? We can see that the bike has a pedal, and we can see that the motorcycle uses an engine, which needs fuel. What about between the cupcake and the cake? What do you see that's similar? They both have chocolate frosting, and they're both cake. Now, what do you see that's different? One is really big, the cake is big and round, and the cupcake is small. And it also only has frosting on the top, while the cake has it all over. So what does it mean to compare, and what does it mean to contrast? Does anybody have any ideas? So to compare means to look at what is the same between two different things. We can use some keywords to help us compare. Some keywords are alike, same, similar, also, and similarity. We can use those to form sentences when we compare. So let's give an example. So let's make a sentence comparing the apple and the orange. So apples and oranges are alike because they're both round. Now let's take a look at what contrast means. So when we contrast, we look at what is different between two things. Like when we were contrasting the difference between an apple and an orange, we noticed how the apple is red and the orange is orange. So some keywords for contrast are different, difference, unlike, but, while, and although. So let's form a sentence contrasting the two. So apples and oranges are different because one is red and one is orange. So let's take a look at the basic needs that humans need. So what do you think those are? So humans need food, water, air, shelter, which is our homes, and sunlight. Now, what do you think animals need? Do you think it's going to be different, or do you think it's going to be similar? So animals need food, water, air, shelter, and sunlight. Sounds pretty similar to what we need, right? So what makes us humans so different from animals if we need the same things? We all need air, water, food, sunlight, and shelter. So let's take a closer look at the specific needs. So raccoons, where they live, their shelter is in foresty areas. They live in bushy areas. They live in trees. They can climb trees. They sleep in trees. They'll sleep in bushes. Now let's take a look at what they eat. They eat eggs of other animals. They eat fruit, seeds, and insects. Now let's take a look at this animal. This animal is a duck, and it lives near water. So it lives by ponds, by lakes, by streams. And what do they eat? They eat like other amphibians like frogs. They'll eat insects, fish, aquatic plants like seaweed. They eat grains and seeds and fruits and vegetables and water. So both of these are animals, yet they're both different. They both live in different places. They both eat different things, but they also eat some similar things like insects and fruits. Now let's take a look at where humans live and what we eat. So we live in houses. We live in buildings, apartments, townhouses. We eat fruits, we eat vegetables, we eat grains like bread, we eat nuts, we eat dairy like milk and cheese, we'll eat meats and fish. Now let's see. So here we have two characters from our book. Do you remember the story we read by Audrey Penn called A Kiss Goodbye? So here's Chester the raccoon and here's the possum. So let's see the differences between the two. So what's different between the possum and the raccoon? Well, yes. So their hair is different. Their fur is different. Their tails are different. Does the tail of the raccoon have fur? Yeah. Does the possum have fur? No. Now, how are they alike? They are both animals. They both can climb trees. They both need water, they both need food, they both need shelter, and they both need sunlight to survive. Now I'm gonna call up a volunteer from our class, one of our friends, and let's compare and contrast our friend to Chester the raccoon. Let's see the differences and similarities between the two. So in our independent learning, you guys are going to be in groups. Before we go, I put you in groups. I'm going to go over what is a Venn diagram. Has anybody ever heard of Venn diagram? So here is when a Venn diagram is used to compare and contrast two different things. For example, down here, we're going to be comparing and contrasting the apples and oranges. So in the center of the Venn diagram, you put everything that is similar. You put the similarities, the comparisons in the middle. And then on the outside, you put what is different. So I'm going to give each group a hula hoop, each group of three, 2 hula hoops, and you are going to form a Venn diagram using the hula hoops like in this picture. I'll give you Post-it notes, and that is where you will write the similarities and differences and place them in the proper spots. I would like you to pick, you can pick any animal you want, a pet, your favorite animal, an animal from our story, and then you're going to put human on the top, and that will be the 2 titles. And then you will compare and contrast the difference between the humans and the animals. Now, after this, when you are alone in your desk, you are going to pull out a paper, and I want you to summarize what it means to compare and what it means to contrast in your own words. Then you will explain the similarities and differences between the basic needs of humans and animals, like what we talked about in our lecture. It will be 5 sentences. So for my reflection questions, I have what the hardest part about creating this lesson plan was. And honestly, for me, the hardest part was organizing everything. And like, I feel like maybe I added too many examples, which took up a little bit too much time. But when creating this lesson plan, I actually learned a lot because I've never really done a lesson plan when that's teacher centered. So here I was able to focus more on like how I would lecture. And like, I like to engage students, which I know is a little more tricky when you're doing teacher-centered because it's mostly supposed to be me talking. So I found that to be a little bit tricky, but I learned how I need to talk more and like ask less questions because I think I ask too many questions and then it takes up too much time. So what I plan to change in this lesson and why, I plan on making it more student-centered, so interacting with the students more than just talking, and adding better, I also want to change my activities, like not the Venn diagram one, but the summarizing with a paragraph. I'm not a huge fan of that one. I feel like it could be more fun. I like to engage the students more. So I would probably change that one. And I also still I have some ideas on like for my second teach. I have some ideas on that. So I'm planning on incorporating that. Thank you.